Hey everyone, it's Kai from WCC, and we're back to Vanguard 0 today. I know we haven't done a lot of Vanguard 0 videos recently, but you know, things just popped up, and a ban list happened, so we've been in the real world for a while, but we're back at Vanguard 0 because I want to talk about a topic that is kind of relevant to the current metagame in Vanguard 0, and that is why, like, MLB being so overpowering. Everyone's complaining about it because, you know, you have to play against MLB now, there's no more VP farmers, so yeah, that's big topic is why is MLB so overpowered. And one thing as an MLB player I've noticed is that people damage deny against MLB wrongly. Like they see the idea of damage deny and they go, okay, if I don't give my opponent any damage and then kill their like Wingle Brave, I basically win. And that is 100% wrong, because if you damage deny the wrong way, you have a good chance of just losing yourself the game. Okay, so we're going to talk about this right now. So let's talk about damage denying. What is damage denying and some misconceptions about damage denying. So damage denying is a delay tactic to slow down MLB from getting its pieces. It can apply to anything other than MLB, like other decks as well. Just not giving your opponent the damage means they don't have a counterblast and they cannot use their abilities. You can do it against, I guess, like MLB, Shadow Paladin, you know, all those decks that also require like 2 CB, you can just give them 1 damage and they can't use their counterblast 2 effect. It's similar idea to that, but specifically for the MLB matchup, it's to not even give your opponent 1 damage in the beginning of the game so they cannot use their Wingle Brave. So when the MLB player cannot use their Wingle Brave, it leads to the MLB player performing their combo slower, alright? So like 1 turn slower because they have a turn where they have no CB and they can only swing, and they basically either just have to stay at a grade 2 or just ride up to MLB and just do a very lame turn before being able to combo off the next turn. So that either that happens or you're able to just kill the MLB if you're a deck like Kagura where you have Tejas, you just ride Tejas, snipe that Wingle Brave, and that basically delays your opponent, the MLB player, a lot. Well, not at all. If they drew God Hand, then it's too bad, right? So contrary to popular belief though, killing a Wingle Brave does not automatically win you the game. So even though you kill the Wingle Brave, they could still draw God and win, or they could just play normally, albeit at a like less powerful level, and still kind of at least play. And then damage denying can lose you the game. So if you damage deny too hard, you sometimes forget that MLB is a 2 crit deck, so if they just draw into their combo pieces later, they can still out damage you and beat you, they can still crit pressure you, they still have Blaster Blade, they still have Gansel, so they can compress the deck a bit better. And then if you spend too much resources and sacrificing too much resources to kill their Wingle Brave, for example, that can lose you the game. So one of the big examples is like if you're playing Shadow Paladin, you go first, you pass a turn, and then you have 2 damage, and then you sack 3 for Phantom Blaster Dragon, and then kill off their Wingle Brave. And okay, maybe that works like once in 6 games, where your opponent just didn't have any like MLB to ride, but then half the time you just sacrificed a bunch of cards to kill off one card on your opponent's side of the field. You're like, and then they just do their combo and they win again. So a lot of the times, yes, damage denying can lose you the game. Another situation that pops up is that people damage deny too long. They go, okay, you don't have any counterblast, you definitely can't use Wingle Brave, and they just didn't. I've had games where players don't give me any damage for like 5-6 turns straight, and I just win. I just win because I just don't care. So a lot of bad ways to damage deny. Now, let's talk about decks that can damage deny. So there are decks that can damage deny well, and decks that can damage deny under specific situations. So decks that can damage deny well are Kagura. So you have Tejas, straight up, correct, you know, you go first, ride Tejas, or you can go second, pass, ride Tejas and win. Or you can do something like, I guess you can pass, and then if you get 2 damage next, you can like Berserk Dragon, but you know, it's getting a bit iffy. If you have Tejas, you basically win. Narukami, again, given Saishin, the starter, can just kill, and if you play damage increases with things like the damage on Flipper, I think not Chidra, it's man, I forget that name now, but yeah, if you against the damage on Flipper with the damage increaser, that basically makes just an unblockable, unbeatable Saishin kill. Nova Grapplers if they run the back row attacker, so yeah, that can damage deny, okay. And then Royal Paladin, if you play the mirror, damage deny is a real thing. You can basically absolutely snowball you the game, or you can just lose you the game. But damage denying is a very important part in the MLB mirror. And then decks that can damage deny under specific situations are a Shadow Paladin, If you've gotten 2 damage, you run a like they rushed you for some reason, you can run a Blaster Duck and snipe that. Or Dark Irregulars. Now Dark Irregulars is actually pretty interesting. If your opponent plays super lame and you went first, you can ride up to a Mon and then just snipe their back row and good times to you. So one thing I have to stress about damage denying is that you don't want to sacrifice too much. This is like chess, okay? Like a Queen's Gambit or whatever. You don't want to sacrifice a piece to gain positional advantage. This is you. Damage deny is you sacrificing one attack, one damage to be able to gain a positional advantage against your opponent by killing off their Wing or Brave or delaying their Wing or Brave by 1 turn so you can at least set up your plays quicker. So if you sacrifice too much, if you sacrifice 2 turns worth of attacks like that, you probably lose the game, because I have to stress, your opponent is a true crit deck. Now, I actually have some games where my opponent did damage deny, and we can just talk about the ideas behind what's going on and my thoughts as an MLB player on what's really happening and how it affects me or not. So let's get right into those games and take a look. Okay, so for these games, I won't be going through the entire game because that'll take a long time. I'll just be going through the early game, what my thoughts are around it, and what my opponent did correctly or incorrectly. So first game here, let's start it off with against a Gold Paladin player, and you notice that Gold Paladin is not a deck that I said that can damage deny. So here I've just gotten rid of my 2 cards that I didn't really care about. As you can see, I don't have an MLB, but you know, half the games you draw a god and half the games you don't. So I'm going first. This is a game that technically my opponent does not need to damage deny. He knows I've only mulliganed 2 cards, and you know, Gold Paladin, generally they play like 9 crits, but I've seen decks which run like draw and stands, and then I think this one actually just ran all draws. So here he's gonna damage deny, and although it seems really cool on paper, because if he damage denies me, I don't have anything I can do, right? I don't have an MLB, I have to naturally draw my MLB, I don't have any liens to filter through my deck. But if you think about it the other way, if I had an MLB, or if I drew it just slightly better, this game will be absolutely donezo. With me, I don't actually need to care. I don't need to care if my opponent has damage denied me or not. I'm just gonna keep on attacking, keep on increasing that damage, and then if I just draw an MLB or get an MLB sometime soon, then the game is absolutely sealed. Or if I even had an MLB, the game is basically done. I've gotten every single other piece as well. He's going, right here, he rides, and he's gonna damage deny me again. That is 2 turns worth of not attacking, and I'm at a position where I can just sit on my Blaster Dark. Because it's a blaster, I can wait until I get a damage, and then just get my MLB when I need it. Sitting on a Blaster Duck is not a bad idea. I'm just gonna, you see here, I'm just gonna skip my ride. Although I have Paladin, Paladin is a terrible ride in this situation. I'm gonna actually call down another card just to push my opponent to 3. Maybe I shouldn't have, because then he can just put down a damage increaser and kind of get some calls off. But I don't even know if he has an Ezel or anything like that. And if he doesn't have an Ezel, that just means more good times for me. And then if he does have an Ezel and he has a damage increaser, and then he starts calling cards, he's basically blown his load kind of really early in the game while I'm still at 0 damage. So in my opinion, my position is pretty good. Next turn, I can still just sit on my Blaster Dark, and then I can just put back all my Gan slots and get Blaster Blades and just start putting on pressure on my opponent's side of the field and still get my MLB. And the next turn, I'll be able to get my combos and start, denying him at 3, and making him drop his nulls. So I don't know if we can skip quicker, but that's, in my opinion, in this matchup, Gold Paladin should not have damage denied me at all, because it's just not a deck that can do anything about it. It can't do anything about my Wing or Brave. It can't, although it can slow me down 1 turn. Remember, it's not a crit Vanguard. It's not. Technically, it's a limit break deck as well, so it still needs to put on that pressure early to keep the damage at a similar level before it can really actually push me. It's like not a multi-attack deck as well. Right? It only ever gets 3 attacks. It doesn't have retire, so it can't really push extra damage. So when you don't push any damage early against MLB, then it just absolutely starts snowballing in their favor. They'll get way better compression because their Gan slots go back. And yeah, in this situation, I had not a great hand. I'm missing a card, but half the games you play, you're gonna have a great hand, and this is it just means you're gonna absolutely ruffle slop your opponent. If you didn't get the heal there as well, you're just in a terrible position too. So I definitely think that this game, he played that damage deny strategy absolutely wrongly. So I'm gonna skip my ride, and then here I'm just gonna put back all my GAN slots. I sometimes do take a bit of time to, you know, make sure I'm clicking the correct prompts, because I absolutely hate it when I click wrongly and just lose the game because of it. So yeah, I'm just gonna put back all my GAN slots. I'm not gonna use Blaster Blaze effect at all, because I need to use Wingle Breaks effect. That can happen, you know, you get too gung-ho, go, I want to retire something, and they go, oh no, I can't use Wingle Breaks effect. But yeah, I'm gonna call down 1, and then this guy's gonna attack Rearguard. I'll actually call down 2 because I don't want to go over the hand limit, just in case. But this guy's gonna attack Rearguard, and then my dude is just gonna, my Vanguard's just gonna attack their Vanguard. There's no way I lose. I can't get my MLB, because even if I triggered a GAN slot, I still have 2 damage. So that's pretty perfect for me. So there we go. I think that's pretty much the game. I get my MLB, and from there on, I'm in a pretty decent spot. Let's go on to the next game. So let's jump into the second game here. I'm against Narukami, going second. Going second basically with this kind of hand with a 1-2-3 basically means I'm pretty good to get my combo. But I threw away my Marin just because a 7k means I can hit under 8ks as well if I really wanted to play the damage knight game. And although I normally probably wouldn't if I have such a good hand to damage knight, in this game I will damage knight my opponent just to see his reactions and what he will do. So firstly, my opponent writes 8k good times, means I can swing under, and yeah, if Narukami gets his combo, if he gets the damage increaser, gets the unflipper, then, you know, that's done for me. He can kill my starter and all good. But the interesting part will be that what he does this next turn. Is he going to damage deny me the next turn? And going first means that if he damage denies me the next turn, it's not that bad. It's actually not that bad. Although I get 2 attacks in, he gets to go to grade 3 first, and if he goes to grade 3 first, he can just push damage anyway and not feel too bad. Because just delaying 1 turn sometimes is good. But in this situation where I only threw away 2, I think it's fine. If your opponent only throws away 2, he still needs, you know, to draw some cards. But unfortunately for him, my hand became absolutely amazing. So here, again, I wouldn't normally damage knight. I think I just push, but I just wanted to see his reaction just for the sake of this video. Here my opponent is going to ride the non-combo. He's going to ride his 10k, and he's going to pass. He's going to pass. So that's fine, but one thing I found that Narukami people do sometimes misplay a lot is they damage knight too far. So if you're going second as a Narukami player, if you damage knight the first damage, that is fine. But if you damage knight the second damage, then you are falling behind, because then you're forgetting that MLB, you know, if they draw their combo anyway, the 2 crits, and they're just gonna ruffle stomp your face. So here, I damaged knight again. I just wanted to see what he's gonna do. But normally, I'd just boost and attack. And let's see what happens on my opponent. So he rides a 3, and will he do the correct move? And the correct move looks like he's going to do stuff because he's committing to a field. Normally people who don't just sit and pass, and that's where you're doing it wrong. And he's gonna call something. Hopefully. Yeah, well, I do know. It's not hopefully, I know he does call. So he's gonna call, and then he's going to attack me in the face. Now, one thing though is that here he's going to deal 2 damage to me. And 2 damage to me means it activates my Starcall Trumpeter. And that means that I have a high chance to get whatever I need. So that's another concept of damage deny. Giving your opponent 1 damage means they can't use a Starcall, and going to the 3 could mean that they just combo 1 turn late again. So that's something to keep in mind as like an Narukami player. If you give up on damage denying, how far do you want to go? Okay, so our last game is going to be an MLB mirror. One thing about the MLB mirror, let's stop here, is I'm only going to dump 1 card. I'm only going to dump the Paladin because he's overall a useless card. I know a lot of people advocate when playing MLB to just dump everything that is not part of your combo, but personally I do like keeping the Null Guard just because, you know, Sentinels are good. I see a Lien. Lien can convert into another card, which is fine, and the Starcall can also convert into another card, it's fine too. I can be a bit more relaxed in what I mulligan in this game because I'm going second, so I get a few more cards to see. I get 1 more card extra, so I can just play a bit, you know, like, whatever. One thing also to note that the more cards you keep in your hand in an MLB mirror, it indicates to your opponent that your hand is better. So there's more chance you already have the combo, and kind of just tells them, maybe you don't need to deny me. You can push damage and, you know, give me damage and just, because there's no point damage now. I already have the combo. I'm going to combo off. So another thing that I know a lot of people don't realize, you can go to the logs and check what your opponent has mulliganed. So here I can see my opponent only mulliganed 1 card, so that also tells me that his hand could be pretty good. But one thing you want to note is that when you go first, if they only discard like 1 card, it could also mean that they're just missing a card as well. So we'll see what happens. There's some interesting decisions that you can make in this mirror that can totally snowball the game in your favor. But we'll see. So maybe he's doing the same thing as me, trying to psych me out to make me give damage too. Here he rides K, that's fine. No Lien, so, interesting. He can't develop his hand as much or filter his hand as much. I've drawn 3 Liens, so if I really wanted to, I can just start dropping Liens and going face. But here, I'm only going to drop 1. I'm going to discard a Lien for a Lien and see what I get. And if it's bad, I can drop another Lien. But I draw Blaster Blade, which is actually pretty decent. Now, here you can actually drop a Lien for a Star Call, but I wouldn't. I would just probably ride a Star Call, or if he gives me a damage, I could ride the Blaster Blade and just, cash in on that and get like a Blaster Dark, and then my Star Call can get like a Blaster Blade later, or hopefully I draw into a Gancelot. So here, he rides a Star Call, which is pretty interesting. And that kind of tells me either his hand is absolutely amazing, or his hand is not great at all. He also drops a Lien, which is also kind of iffy. So that means those 4 cards that he now has in his hand has to be pretty much perfect. Like, it has to pretty much contain the combo. And if he doesn't, it's kind of just sad times for him, right? He actually gives me a damage, which is really interesting. It tempts me to ride a Blaster Blade to just cash in on that. But here I go, okay, if he's giving me damage now, he's probably going to give me another damage later. So I can just choose not to ride my Blaster Blade. I can save my Star Call, and hopefully I can just combo the next turn. But the interesting thing here, what I'm going to do is, I'm probably going to, do I discard my Lien for Lien? I think I do. I'm just checking his hand, like thinking what his hand is. He had a K, he had a Star Call, he had a Lien. That's 3 cards, and it's 3 cards out of 7, and then he filtered with Lien. So I'm going to filter Lien here, yeah, going for that. Hopefully I draw something good. I draw a Marin, which is whatever. Doesn't really contribute much to my hand. But let's go battle phase, and what I'm going to do immediately is end my turn. So what this can do, right, in the mirror, if your opponent does not actually have the combo, and I feel like he doesn't have the combo, it's like kind of like a gut instinct in a way. I go, okay, if he doesn't have a combo here, if he doesn't even have a 3 here, he is absolutely donezo. The way that he acted out like that, he's kind of donezo. He doesn't have a blaster on his ride, like his Vanguard circle, so if he doesn't have anything, he's just done. So I decide to pass. I don't even want to give him any damage for a chance to get any possibility of anything. He calls a Blaster Dark, which is really strange. If that was already in his hand, then if I gave him a damage there, he could have rode that and then gotten him his MLB. But here I'm basically like a turn ahead. He's given me damage as well, and that's the perfect amount of damage. I can MLB and then call my Star Call, get a Blaster Dark, and then call a Blaster Blade. And he has to be in a situation where he either needs to top deck that MLB and then draw the rest of his combo, or have the rest of his combo available, or he needs to ride a Blaster card and then boost and get the MLB from the Wingle Brave. And while I'm on 12k, I have 2 turns where I can smack him with a crit. So although he's pushed me to 2 damage, possibly 3 damage the last turn. No, I don't think it was possible actually. Oh no, it could have been possible if I didn't get a trigger and he got a trigger. I could have gone to 3, but I'm in a situation where I can kind of thin through my deck a bit more. I have multiple heal triggers left in my deck, so I can heal down. I'm always got Counterblast to work with. Well, although he will have Counterblast to work with, he doesn't really have many cards to play, or he doesn't really have many plays because he's still stuck in a weird, like, I'm on a grade 2 that's like AK, that's not a blaster, so my Wingle Brave is absolutely useless. I've also seen by now that his Ganslot is a draw, so he probably doesn't have 4 Ganslots, so he can't really compress those heals as effectively as I can. And here I'm just going to push him up to 3 damage, and then next turn, if he doesn't ride, I basically just start slamming out his Null Guards from his hands, and that's pretty much nearly a GG, right? So here he goes to 3, another Blaster Dark goes away. We see what he does the next turn. Let's see. So, does he ride a Blaster Blade or a Blaster Dark to get his cards? Because he doesn't. So he's actually just so far behind now. The game is nearly done. So you can call stuff. He's using Star Call to, call another blaster. You can move it back, just leave it forward to intercept because, he needs defense now. He's behind in grades, behind in damage, and that's pretty much the rest of the game. Actually goes a bit long, but that's how it is. But basically, those are the situations that you can think of. I basically only recorded these 3 scenarios. So the Damage 9 game is actually super kind of deep in the MLB mirror. But in other situations, you have to think about, is my sacrificing of 1 damage worth it? Is it worth it for me not to deal 1 damage to be able to get a good position? Or is it not a good idea, or is it going to lose me the game, etc.? So in those games, you saw some bad damage deny plays. For the MLB player here, he probably should have just denied damage, because otherwise, I will be able to just get everything I wanted, while his hand just didn't look that good eventually, although he did kind of give off an impression that it was okay with only discarding 1 cards, but overall, those situations can happen. So hopefully this kind of helped you more with how you can approach the damage deny game, how maybe it's not worth it to always damage deny. I know a lot of shadows can just push and then quickly try and kill MLBs and they're just done. Same thing with Narukami's. You can delay 1 turn, or you can just go face and just rush MLB out, because there is always a timing where MLB has to suck in its grade 2s to become 12k, and that is usually a super weak turn unless your opponent unless they have a lot more grade 2s in their hand to put in the front and they can put their blasters in the back. So there are a lot of times you can capitalize on just pushing damage, and if you've pushed the damage early, that's when you start you can capitalize on those weak turns and really push super hard on that turn 2 and make a big damage difference. So yeah, again, hopefully that helps you a lot with MLB, or helps you somewhat to overcome MLBs and make your Vanguard 0 life a bit better, at least until they hit Wingle Brave to be CB2. So yeah, if you like this video, let me know. Put your comments in the description, like and subscribe and all that, and tell me your thoughts on damage denying and what you think of your ideas behind damage denying in the comments below. Alright, so that's it from me. See you later. Bye.